This is Aisha Shabish with Agents of Fandom. I'm joined today by Rebecca McVeigh, who is a storyboard artist for Inside Out 2. So, Rebecca, I have to ask, looking at how this film dives into the life of a teenager and puberty, were there any specific teenage-based influences you took for your art, whether they're from real-life kids or other teen movies?
I tried to draw a lot on my own personal experiences. So I ended up like flipping through a lot of old photos of myself, which was terrible. But and the experiences of the of everyone else on the crew. Everyone was like really open and sort of bringing a piece of themselves, a real piece of themselves from that transitional period, like the 12 to 13 area. So that's sort of where I was drawing the most inspiration from because that felt the most real.
Riley in this film, of course, plays a teenage girl who plays hockey. I found it very convenient that this film is coming out right after the success of the Professional Women's Hockey League or the PWHL. Yeah, I was wondering if there were any like discussions with pro hockey players or if the team has taken any influences from sports films, let's say like the Mighty Ducks, in order to like accurately storyboard those sequences.
We did talk about the Mighty Ducks. It's funny that you say that. I think that that
Yay.
was like such a common influence among like early childhood sports movies that we all kind of remembered. Um, we did watch like professional hockey just for reference and to make sure, everyone understands the rules. Um, we, as the crew, we saw a game together. Like we went to an NHL game. The director, Kelsey, was in touch with an actual like middle school level girls hockey team in order to get a baseline for like, oh, this is sort of like how middle school girls play. This is what they look like when they play. So there was like a lot of research that went into the hockey aspect.
As someone who watches hockey, I noticed them so quickly. I was like, this is so accurately done.
Oh, good. Yay.
Were there any specific visual inspirations for the new emotions in the film? Do those come from other visual entities or from the people who are voicing those characters?
I can't speak too much to the design process of the emotions because I wasn't really involved in that, but I do know that the like which emotions we decided to include on the story end came from like a combination of actual research and just sort of like the needs of a story. So we did do a lot of research into, okay, psychologically, what is going on in the mind of a teenager during that like really transitional period. And I think if I could presume to know what the character designers were thinking, I think they were just trying to visualize what those things sort of feel like.
All right, was there any what was so there's no other characters introduced, like part of Riley's childhood, like Boofy, Pouchy, and Lance. Was there anything like what was it like incorporating that new style of animation into the storyboard aspect of creating the film?
When that part of the movie was first sort of pitched, or like when we all first heard about it for the first time, it was kind of an instant hit. Like we all loved it so much. It was, at least in my mind, I always sort of imagined that Bluefy would be in that sort of like 2D kids TV style. But with Lance, they kind of really surprised me that he ended up looking like a PlayStation 2 era
Yeah.
character. Um, I thought that that was such like a brilliant idea. I was so delighted by that. I think it just adds a little dimension. It feels a little bit more like an imaginative space, which it's supposed to be. So I just loved that stuff.
Yeah, I remember like watching it, reminded me of like arcade, like Mortal Kombat, like for Lance. And I was like, wait, that's so cool. And lastly, if you were gonna create a movie about your own teenage life, which would be the most prevalent emotions?
Oh boy, definitely anxiety. I think we kind of hit the nail on the head with that one. I feel like a lot of people feel like that. It's a very turbulent time.
Well, Rebecca, I appreciate you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thanks for having me.